I'm sitting here, I watched the movie, and let me say this: y'all aren't mad enough for me yet. Y'all are not upset enough. I don't understand. And I understand. No, I do understand. I understand that there's a lot of shock and awe coming your way. And until you sit down and analyze it, you don't realize that this has been a campaign that has been going on in these United States for a very, very long time. Shock and awe. They inundate you with so much information that you can't concentrate on one specific thing because you're worried about everything. I get that. I get that. But here's the thing that we're going to talk about today, because I was sitting watching a movie this afternoon. The movie's called Spotlight. You can find it on Amazon Prime. You can find it on Hulu. I think it's on Stars or something. This movie is about the Catholic Church and their suppression of the amount of priests and clergymen that molest kids and how many cover-ups there are. I was getting ready to go down a rabbit hole. I wasn't sure if my stomach could take it, really. But I was getting ready to go down a rabbit hole. I was just curious. I Googled diocese list of offending priests. It's very generic. I didn't put in any section, but since I'm in the northeast part of the United States, it gave me New York. And I just hit the first link, and at the top, there's a list of priests, and this is just for New York. And I didn't count them because I was trying to get a number, and it just kept scrolling, and it 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 kept scrolling. And when I thought I got to the bottom, it refreshed and kept scrolling and kept scrolling and kept scrolling. And so my mind is all over the place now. My mind is well, how did we get into the situation where we are funding institutions that harbor the people who are harming children? How did we get to that point in our society where we think that is a civilized thing to do? What level of fear has been placed in you that you are sacrificing your children to these people? And what really caught my eye about scrolling through this, because there was a picture and it had the person's name, and then you could hit a little link for details if you wanted to know more. I didn't want to know more.
One of the things.
So it goes on and on and on and on, this list of priests, and the pictures are old pictures. So you know that this has been going on for a while. It's been happening. These are black and white pictures. A lot of them are really grainy. This isn't up to date pictures, like as clear as what you're probably looking at now. And it's horrifying how many men are on this, how many white men are on this. And I need to say that because it's something. I was listening to Jasmine Crockett today talk about these white boys and how they are trying to spin things and create fear in order to get their way again, because they know that they have no way. They know that their way is doomed. How do we let the people who are basically define the deficiencies in the human nature become the rulers of our country? They're deficient. They need to be checked. They need to be put in line. These aren't people that should run countries. You see what's happening in America right now. It's terrifying because we have this culture of looking at these people, and they've taught us to regard them, always to regard them. And there's a very fine line that I don't know where this line is between our responsibility of learning about these motherfuckers so we don't keep falling into their trap, and where we have been indoctrinated. Because it's that too. You've been indoctrinated, but at some point you have to educate. You have to get to a level of education where you can recognize what is going on. And that is the problem. That is why they get rid of the Board of Education. That is why they do not school you on the things that you will need to know to be a functioning adult in this country. That is why they will teach you things about mythology, which by definition is a lie, instead of teaching you how to do your taxes, instead of teaching you how to read code and law. Instead of teaching you how to function in this dysfunctional society, they know it's dysfunctional. They create the dysfunction because we are consumers. They need consumers and producers. And we do both. We'll go to work so that we can buy shit. And that's all they need. They need a perpetual system of people who will go to work so that they can buy shit. Go to work so you can buy shit. Go to work so they can sell us more shit. More expensive shit. Shit that should last. That's why your phone breaks after a certain time. It's called dynamic obsolescence. It is inherent failure in the device so that you keep going back to buy them. It's the same thing with cars. They could build cars that last 20 and 30 years. They build tanks. But they won't, because they want you to keep paying $50,000, $60,000 every 4 to 5 years on a new car. We have to get out of the mindset that they have created. We have to begin to understand. And it's very difficult to get through to people who are really, really indoctrinated. If you've spent any time talking to anybody who's a liberal, not a liberalist, one of these right-wing moralists, if you spend any time talking to them, you know they're not well educated. They're just proficient in rhetoric. They're proficient in propaganda. The things that they have been taught over and over again, the things that they have been instilled, that have been imbued into them to make them believe that they are superior, when there's nothing superior about them, not their genes, not their thought process, nothing. They don't lead anything except things that are destructive. And again, back to this list with all of these priests, because it's not just priests. They have created a culture of us policing each other so that they don't have to police us, so that we never understand that they are the ones who need policing.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody is watchdogging everybody else. You have all these supposedly straight white males who are telling you all the things that you should hate. You should hate the trans people. You should hate the Latinos. You should hate the Mexicans. You should hate, and I know Latinos and Mexicans are the same thing, but I said that for a reason. Because specifically in this country, there's a push to to target Mexico. I don't know what that's about. Whatever. But the process is the same. They teach you to hate these people because these are the people who would be your allies in the fight against them. Because they know what it's like to be disenfranchised. They know what it's like to fight for your own existence. So they know that that would be the front line for any type of resistance against anything that they would bring toward the American people. So that's who they eradicate first. They make you turn your eyes to them and they make you hate them. All the people they have you hating have done nothing to you directly. You have heard rhetoric and you have heard propaganda that has caused you to do X, Y, and Z. And if it is something that has been done to you specifically, I guarantee it's probably an isolated incident. It's not because the whole country or the whole, all of Mexico is bad. All Mexicans or all Venezuelans or all El Salvadorians or all anybody. And we know that. But we like to generalize because we've been taught to think in binary. So if you're not us, you are them. If you're not us, you are them. So they keep having us, them, everybody else. Everybody else is the them to this group. This group is them to that group. And this group is them to that group. And we keep that going in perpetuity so that there's always dissension amongst the ranks, so that there's never unity. As long as this unity is the order of the day, they don't ever have to worry about us coming together to make sure that these oligarchs and these plutarchs aren't doing what they are actually trying to pull off, or they're pulling it off, unfortunately. And I don't know if we understand that. And the 93 or 92% who have stayed out of the fight, staying out of the fight is one thing, but we're all going to feel it. We are all going to feel it. We have to find a way. We have to find common ground. We have to find, because the other part of it is, and this isn't the political part, it's back to the part where we are letting these people hypnotize you, basically, into handing over your children to them. There's no way that in this year 2025 in these United States of America, because if you see this somewhere else, that may not be the year it is in your country. But if you see these things, we're taught not to call them out. We're taught to overlook them. We never call the spade a spade here for some reason. Because we've been, I don't know if it's fear, I don't know what, or if it's just another level of programming where we won't say it's this capitalistic, patriarchal right wing that we need to get rid of. Either that or we need to divide the country in two. I'm not sure which one it is. Because we can't persist like this, not and be progressive. Your children are at risk everywhere they go. And this might be the most unhinged, crashed out thing that you've ever heard me say. But I get curious about things when I see a system that needs children for victims. What other ways are they employing to get these people? What other ways? We know that during slavery, when they wanted more slaves and the slave trade became illegal, they started knocking up the slaves to make more slaves. There's the foster system, there's the adoption system. There's also, and I wonder about this, and I don't know how far this goes. I don't have any research or I haven't done any type of research on what I'm about to say, but when people leave eggs, like either fertilized or unfertilized eggs, with I don't know whether they cryo organizations that freeze them, the medical, whatever the terminology is, I don't know. But that particular institution that freezes eggs for women who want to have children later, if something happens to the woman, she never comes back to get her eggs, they say they destroy them. They say they destroy them. I don't, because you also have a bunch of men who donate sperm freely. Not freely, they get paid usually, but you know what I'm saying. That's available too. And we know that since the 80s, there's been technology where you can make babies outside of a womb. So what are we doing? What's happening? What's really good? I don't know if that's a thing. I'm just wondering, is that a thing? There are women who have eggs that are fertilized, sitting in cryo. That's just the first level. That's just the first level of getting the kids. The second level is after they're born. We know that they sometimes tell women your baby died. That's been a thing that's been happening for quite a while. But we don't hear it so much anymore, but I'm sure it still happens. And then once they, do get a baby home, then you send your kid to school where they fill your kid's head with nonsense all day. Yeah, they teach them to read and write so that they can do specific jobs when they get older for these bigger companies. They want you to at least have that. They don't want to have that level of illiteracy where they can't trust you to run this machine. You need to be able to read the instructions and the safety precautions. We give our children over to these people all the time. I know that in our community, because teaching isn't a highly regarded job, that there aren't enough black and brown teachers maybe for the community, but we might need to make academies that only make teachers so that we have people teaching the kids the things that they need to know for us, for our community, to make us better. We send them to the enemy every single day and let the enemy indoctrinate them. And then we wonder why kids act the way they do. You don't think that kids understand that the things that they are learning aren't going to be of use to them? You don't think that they feel the desperation? You don't think that they feel your hopelessness? They watch you come in and do the same things day in and day out. What type of hope is that for your children? To think that they can live a better life because you're such a shining example. We haven't taken it seriously enough. And again, I do understand that there is a level of programming that has happened, and it is time that we have to wake up. We use these buzzwords like wake up and woke and things like that. And we let, again, the right wing take those words and make them into something that they're not. We let them make them into slurs like DEI, how they're using DEI, blaming DEI for everything. That doesn't make sense. You let these people who are ill-intentioned, who will not pay you what you're worth, who take and hog all the wealth of the country, indoctrinate your children, put you into slave labor even though you think you're free. And then you wonder why the kids won't go along with it. Your kids are feeling something that they probably don't understand, and that is the hopelessness of their situation. The hopelessness of the situation that you brought them into sometimes. Not for everybody. But for those of you who have identified that your child is acting in a certain way and you don't know why, maybe this could be the reason. Children feel that. I remember when we were living in Newark on Baldwin Avenue. We had just moved into the house. Actually, we were moving in at the moment that this particular thing happened. And these younger kids, I was maybe in high school, and these younger kids who were maybe elementary age walked by, and somehow we fell into conversation with these young boys. It was maybe 3 or 4 of them. And the youngest of them, I remember him saying that he doesn't see anything outside of the neighborhood. That like all the stuff that he ever thinks that he's ever going to be able to do is the stuff that he sees every day in the neighborhood. We said, what about the stuff on TV, like the Cosby Show and stuff? Like, you have role models and stuff. And he was like, man, that's fake. This is like an 8-year-old. We understand that it's fake, but we also understand that those particular characters are modeled after actual people. He didn't think so. He had never met a black lawyer or black doctors of any type, and knew that they were affluent and respected, and he didn't think that that was a possibility for him. Why? The indoctrination. He got up and listened to teachers every day who probably didn't have his best interest at heart, who probably thought he was going to be nothing more than a thug. We have to watch these people. And it's not just these people all the time. It's not. Like, there's a thing where in parenthood that I've heard people say from time to time, parents, I need a break. I've never had a break from my own life. Now, I don't have kids. But every day that I wake up, I got to deal with all of the things that I have created in my life. The idea of having kids early is, I think, more when people need a break. Get your break before the kids come. They're going to need 100% of your attention. 100% of your time and your energy. So until you're ready to not be broken, so you won't need a break, maybe pause in that whole I need to go and have these kids now thing. Get your life right. How about this? Get a life. Your life should not be your children. It doesn't have to be anyway. There are people who dedicate their whole lives to raising their children. That's beautiful. It doesn't have to be though, because children grow up and leave. If you've done a good job anyway. Children grow up and leave. So, and that's not to impugn parents who keep kids at home and say that you're doing a bad job. This economy is kind of crazy, so that's the other reason. But, you know, the want for a kid to leave is what I'm talking about. That desire for a kid to get up and go, you know what? I need my own space. I want to make my own way in the world. That. I was watching something. I think it was the same movie. And there was a quote the guy said, and that's what made me really decide to talk about this at all. Because he said, it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to abuse one. Yeah. Sit with that. Let that sit in your spirit a second. Because it's not an isolated incident where the priests are just the ones who are responsible. The parishioners who sit their asses in the pews are responsible as well.
Somebody's doing something.
The people who put their money in the coffers are responsible as well. The lawyers who keep these secrets are responsible as well. There's a lot of responsibility to go around. Because if you sit there and you know that this is happening within this institution and you continue to support the institution, then you are supporting that action. You are supporting the child molestation. You are supporting the rape of children. You are supporting the corruption of children. You are supporting all of that with your money. And in fact, you're making sure that they get more victims. Because you're providing that opportunity. As long as they pay for the silence of these people who they've already done it to, that clears the way for more people to come. We haven't done as good a job as we think we had in protecting our children from us. It is our responsibility to do that. You take your children to these places knowing that these men are horrible. These churches should be empty all the time. I'm talking specifically about the Catholic Church, but I'm not talking about Baptists either. There was an estimate that 6% of all priests, and I think they included ministers, abuse children. 6%. And it began, I had to ask myself the question if it's that high. Because that's a higher incident than there are of trans people in the country. More priests abuse children, percentage-wise, than there are trans people represented in the whole population of the United States. Trans people represent 1 to 3% of the population of the United States. 6% of priests abuse children. And yet the problem that Congress discusses is bathrooms for trans people. And the care and hormone therapy and stuff like that. That's the issue. When do we get to talking about the church on that floor? Nobody there has an interest in talking about it. Because the Catholic Church makes sure that they don't. That's the other place that the money goes. It goes to silence these things. It goes to keep it out of legislation. It goes to lobbying. And they do it by the Catholic Church forming other organizations that may be a 501c3, but it's not necessarily a Catholic organization, but it's still owned by the Catholic Church. So now, as that organization, they can lobby. We allow this here. We allow this here. We allow them to keep their big monumental churches. And you all show up because you are fearful. Because they have told you that if you don't, God will not love you. And you will not get to heaven. And you believe them. I can't understand how it doesn't seem to more people, particularly Abrahamic religions, just seem to be constructed in such a way that it keeps everybody from feeling human. Human. Anything that humans do is suppressed. As opposed to us teaching each other the things that we don't like to have in society, we don't do them because we don't do them as a society. There's always another way to look at things. They've taught you to think that you need rules and order and to be ruled over, because that's what they like to do to you. They won't let you expand your humanness and become a better human by learning. They won't give you unlimited education so that you can be your highest self. They want you low. Will you continue to go to work, send your kids to school, and buy shit? That's really your function. They want your energy and your energy and your energy. Your energy working, your kids are energy, and your money is energy. And they take it all. They take it all and make you think that you have something. They teach you that it is the American dream to grow up, get married, and have kids. Now, I'm gonna say something right here, and I shared this with a friend of mine. I happened to see this on the TikTok, and I forget the young lady's name, but if anybody happens to come across the video, please tag her in this. I might go back and look for it and see if I can find it. This young woman talked about, first she said, or was this a guy? The person, whoever it was, said, the male G-spot is located on the inside of an anus, in men only, right? The only sex organ that can reach it is a penis. Women's G-spot is located on the outside, where another woman could reach it. Very much so. But who would know what to do with it? Naturally. See, I think we've been led to think that men and women should couple up, and I'm not sure that that's the idea, and I'm not going to say that I think otherwise. I'm saying I'm not sure. What I do know is biology is biology. You don't need anything artificial to reach a man's prostate if you have a penis. If you are a woman, you can reach a woman's vagina and stimulate the most sensitive part of her vagina with another vagina.
Yeah, but a woman
No.
can stimulate a man with a finger.
I said sex organ.
Okay, but why gotta be sex?
Because that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sex.
Okay, but our G-spots can be pleasured by an organ. So you consider the mouth a sex organ?
I
It's
don't
used
know.
for sexual pleasure.
There's a lot of things. People use whips and chains for sexual pleasure.
I know, but as a sex organ.
The mouth isn't an organ.
Okay, so I don't get what you meant when you was comparing men and women.
What I think is we've been indoctrinated to think that men and women should couple up, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. I said that the first time.
How would any of us be if men and women don't?
You can have kids with somebody. That don't mean that you got to stay with them the rest of your motherfucking life and get married to them and become their chattel. In fact, that's what happens in most of society. Naturally, in society, people get together a lot of times, particularly if they're young. They have kids with somebody and they end up leaving that particular person and going off with somebody else. I'm not asking you to agree with what I'm saying. I am giving you another thought, period. So, that being said, I said what I said. A man will always be able to stimulate the G-spot of another man easier. A woman instinctually knows. I can't tell you how many women I come across online who are always talking about the man don't know what he's doing. Men don't know how to please us. They don't know how to do this. They don't know how to do that. I bet you another woman would. And if you look in society, just the way that we behave, instinctually behave, gives me that idea as well. A man can be married to a woman, but yet he spent most of his time with his male best friend, and vice versa. Because there is an emotional connection as well that men have with other men that isn't going to be replicated in a relationship with a woman, and vice versa. And I think those relationships are much longer lasting and aren't forced. But that's just my opinion. You can think what you want and feel however you want. So I say that to say, you don't have to necessarily give in. No, I'm going to take all of that back. Think for your fucking self. The thoughts that other people give you aren't necessarily the best thoughts for you to think. And until you sit down and start deconstructing your belief system, you will not understand why your life goes the way that it does. I don't think we take a look oftentimes about how much of our thoughts are given to us. Take a look. I don't know how for you that would look, however you think that would look. Here's the best advice I can give you to begin is whatever is your most intrinsic belief system, spiritually anyway, whatever is your most held belief, whatever you believe spiritually the most, start researching rather, where that came from. Like, just a simple Google search will start you on your way. I promise you. Take a simple Google search. And what I mean by that is, if you are a Christian and your beliefs are Christian, begin to understand the history of Christianity. If you believe in Judaism, the same thing. Begin to understand the history, and I make sure you find credible sources for information. That's the other thing. A lot of us aren't taught to look and make sure that the sources are credible. There are plenty of ways to make sure that a source is credible. First of all, you have to find people who know what the fuck it is they're talking about. You have to find people who are scholars in the field it is that you are looking for. So you're going to have to find out who the top people in that field are and begin to find out what research they've done and what things that they have wrote on whatever subject it is that you're about to go down the rabbit hole on. So I promise you that it is worth it, because one of the things that I struggle with, and this is current day, I didn't know how much of this information I was ever going to give out, and I didn't think that I was ever going to mention this. But in my life, my real brother is a pastor, right? I don't know if I've ever mentioned that, because he just became a pastor recently. And he recently sent me a message trying to save my soul. and it was very, I just like I have conversations right here, I would have loved to entertain a conversation with my brother, to find, just because I like conversation, obviously, but also because I would like to find out what he knows about the things that he claims he knows now. How much do you know about what you think you know, is what I wanted to know. But I also know that, one, it wouldn't be well received. Two, it wouldn't be just a conversation for him. It would also be an attack. Three, I don't know a common place for us to begin the conversation, to begin to deconstruct his information, because he's going to keep defending it. So unless he's willing to sit and take in new information, there's no sense in us having a conversation about that particular subject. We can talk about family and we can talk about other things, but when it comes to religion and spirituality, we're not at the same place with this, and we don't have the same information. So there's no sense in us really having a conversation about that. None whatsoever. We have to pay attention. We aren't paying attention like we should be paying attention. Our beliefs are spoon-fed to us every day. For the longest time, I thought that rabbits loved carrots. They really don't like them. If you put lettuce or other fruit and vegetables, they'll eat that before they eat the carrot. But because Bugs Bunny had a carrot in his hand, most people excuse me, most people think that rabbits prefer carrots, and that too. That's the one I was getting ready to say as well. We were also taught that mice love cheese. They really prefer peanut butter. The amount of information, misinformation that we are given as children for entertainment. Nobody ever comes back and corrects these facts until you do your own research. So the information that you are given, that you are spoon-fed every single day, much of it is incorrect. Much of it is not just incorrect, much of it is an outright lie. Just like you think that we live in a free country. And I'm so glad that technology, you can't contain technology. It's gonna grow. It's gonna keep expanding exponentially. And as we just found out, when they tried to do their little TikTok ban thing real quick, and everybody started jumping on the Chinese app, and I don't know the name over here, we call it right now. I'm not trying to butcher y'all language, but people found out that China their citizens have a much better way of life. There's no credit score. You can buy things outright. Once you buy land, you actually own it. You don't need to have a 3 months worth of income to get an apartment. You pay for the apartment up front. The apartment is yours. A whole bunch of things we came to find out, thinking that this was the best country in the world. We were taught that this is the best country in the world. It is free here. You have freedom of speech, and we found out here that freedom of speech is not free. They were going to shut down TikTok for that reason. One of the reasons, anyway, according to them. Whatever. The lies are so persistent. It gets tiring trying to recapitulate whatever it is you're saying in order to keep up with the accuracy of what it is that they have going on. It's completely insane. But we have to do a better job. And again, one of the young women that I follow on TikTok, her name is Kwani, the anti-influencer is her handle on TikTok. And she talks about deconstruction. If you need a place to go, she gives pretty good information oftentimes about Christianity, particularly. That's what she is in the process of continually deconstructing from herself. And the information that she gives, you can take it or leave it, but it is what it is. We have to stop taking in this information and believing that it's true. And I don't know how to tell people, listen, you don't have to worry about going to hell because there is no hell. You don't have to worry about going to whatever heaven has been described to you in your little book because there's nothing that exists like that in that particular way. If you do find something like that, it is some amalgamation of some multiverse thing that you have that is a function of your desire. So, but how do you tell somebody who is deeply religious and Christian that how do you do that? So it's interesting for me now to watch people walk around in such fear, because that's all it is. Every person who is religious is not religious so much because they love God. It is more because they fear eternal torment, which is weird because you no longer have a body. How are you tormented eternally? Anyway, we have to do a better job with common sense, because some things are just fucking common sense. Your God has never shown himself to you, but he left a book. No other animal here that God also made needs a book. He didn't leave books for nobody else, just us. And the book isn't even it doesn't even read continuously. Rabbit hole, rabbit hole, rabbit hole, if you wanna. I don't understand why you need to be told as a human what to do. No other thing on this earth needs to be told what to do but us. And that is because we are the only things on this planet living that spend time trying not to be exactly who the fuck we are. That's all we do, is spend time trying not to be human. Everything that is human, we hate some of the human things, and we have come to know them as atrocities, but they are human. They are human because if you look in nature, those exact things happen in nature. That's how you know. It's a thing that happens as a function of life. It's a thing that happens as a function of life. We take things way too personally. We think these tragedies happen and we need to do something about it, and all these things we need to learn is what we really need to do. We need to become better people. We need to be better humans. That's the one job that nobody is on. Or very few people, at least. And not as many as we need. Not as many as could be. Not as many people as desire it. Not as many people as who think they are. Not as many. And it's partly a function, again, of what is told to us, and it's also partly a function of what we choose to believe. See, how can you go to a place where you are told that God gave you free will and you exercise none of it? All your will goes to do what they want. All of your will. But you were told you have free will. The semantics, the wordplay, the lies, the deception, it's way too much. And because they keep us hopping from one foot to the other, trying to figure out what the fuck to do in any given particular circumstance, we are always off our own square. We are always off of our own square. Hopping from this foot to that foot, never standing firm. And like, no, I need proof. If you can't offer me proof of what it is you're saying, then I can't believe you. Because we were told that that's blasphemous. How dare you challenge God? I'm not challenging God. I'm challenging your assumption that there is one. Because he's never shown himself. Ever. Except in the book. Here's the thing. There's a certain type of man in our society, right? And I call it the white man. And I'm not talking about people whose skin is white specifically. There's a lot of them. But not just them, is what I'm saying. It's an idea. It's a white patriarchal idea is what I'm talking about. And I call it the white man. So if you hear me say that, that's what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about all white people. But the white man is the problem in these here United States. If ever there was a fucking problem, it is the white man. He always wants something that he didn't earn. He always wants to take credit for shit that he didn't do. He always wants to suppress and repress other people. Believes that he was put here divinely and to rule over other people. And can't express none of that biologically. Nothing about you is superior. So, the white man positions himself in a lot of different little places where he believes he has power. And then we give it to him. Like priests. Like police officers. Like politicians, like scoutmasters, CEOs, entertainers, lawyers. These are the people also that we find have the highest incidences of assault on other people too. The white man. And then we hand our children over to him. We allow our children to be policed by them, to be taught by them, to be scouted by them, to be given religious education, spiritual advice by the white man, who is the least spiritual being on this planet. We turn our children over. Still. How many years after slavery, we still turn our children over to the master? When are we gonna get fucking sick and tired of it? We ain't mad enough yet. It's time to start shaking motherfuckers awake. It's time, like Spike Lee said, it's time to wake up. What was that, 30, 40 years ago now? 35 years ago, Spike Lee's School Days at the end. Wake up. Even in his movie Tales from the Hood, where he showed in one of the novelettes in the movie, he showed a white politician, racist, get his just due. We have to do it. But you can't if you're asleep. The fear has got to go. And I know you fear all the things they told you to fear. It is time for you to do research and find out exactly what's real. Because everything that you fear is something that they have created. They have us fearing policemen, they have us fearing all these figures of authority, and believe that if we do anything that we're going to lose our lives. You're going to lose your life anyway. Your life is not yours. You're here for a short time. Death is certain for every single thing you see. Everyone and everything. But they've taught us to fear death, not go gladly into it. How do we know that on the other side of that, it isn't a wonderland that we can't wait to experience if only we knew? We treat death like it is the worst thing, but it's prescribed for everybody. Like air. You have to die too. So why not give your life making this better for your children if you have it? And I'm not saying go die for anybody. What I'm saying is use your energy for a cause. Not every cause, but you should know somebody who's taking up the next cause. We have to start thinking in groups like they do. None of them take it all on themselves. And we are out here usually by ourselves thinking we have to do it all on our own. We have to learn to come together. It is time. They are stealing your children. They've been stealing your children. They just change the ways that they steal them. They just change it. As time goes on, they find a new, more sophisticated way to steal your children. So you have to know, if they want your children, there's power there. Which is why you should never hand over your children to them. As I said earlier, I don't, and let me I'm not gonna pussyfoot around it, fuck it. I said earlier that parents, some of them talk about needing a break. It's my personal opinion that if you are a parent and you need a break, you're a bad fucking parent. And the reason is, you should have not had kids if you're gonna need a fucking break. When have you ever fucking known kids to take a fucking break? Not in your lifetime, not in anybody else's lifetime. You need to start thinking better. You shouldn't have had 8 of them. We need to start thinking better. Quantity is not necessarily quality. If you have 2 and can deal with 2, then fucking have 2. I don't understand this need to overpopulate into situations where we keep coming up with the same fucking sum at the end. We don't need to keep being in the same place, but we're taught to keep doing this shit over and over again. You don't realize that your procreation desire and proliferation is a function of slavery left over. Why are you giving kids to this system? Use your time and energy to make the system better. Then think about having children. If you plant a tree today and you expect to sit in its shade tomorrow, you're a fool. You plant a tree today so that your children can sit in the shade in 30 years. And that's where we have gone wrong. We have, in our minds, we try to keep up with technology, and that we think that means that we got to keep doing all these things and changing and changing and changing. Sit the fuck still. Half the things that we are chasing don't need us. We're chasing things that don't need us. And we wonder why we're in these situations. We have to begin to think better and stop feeding into these institutions with our energy, with our time, with our money, because they're taking the children. And you don't even have the time or energy to wonder why. To fight that system, to break it down. We don't have the time and the energy. We're too tired. Challenge your thinking. I said a lot of things. Yeah, I always do. If nothing else sticks the fuck out, challenge everything that you have come to understand and think that you know. Challenge what your mother said, challenge everything that your father told you, the stories your grandfather told you, the recipes your grandmother. Experience shit for yourself and find out how the fucking world works so that you don't have to believe people when they repeat shit to you repeatedly just so that it stays in your head. Because that's how religion works. They keep repeating the same shit over and over and over again. If you tell somebody something enough times, they'll begin to believe it. So they repeat it, and they repeat it, and they repeat it. And they also know that once you get somebody stuck on a certain belief system, it is notoriously difficult to change a belief. It's harder than giving somebody a new idea. It's easier to give somebody a new idea than to change a belief system. Because that's been instilled in us. We've been given a binary way of thinking. Something is either wrong or it is right. Something is either up or it is down. Something is either in or it is out. Something is either mine or it is yours. We have to challenge our thinking. For every idea that you have, think of that idea in a sphere. I know my fist is in a sphere, but just imagine that it is. Think of every idea that you have, every belief system that you have, think of it as a sphere, right? And off that sphere, at every point that can possibly fit on the sphere, imagine there's a needle sticking out. Of every point that can possibly adapt, it's completely round. So there's a needle sticking out. It looks like Pinhead from that movie Hellraiser type of thing. But it's close. All the needles are very close together. So close they almost form like another sphere on the outside, right? Every point on there, for your belief, there's another belief. For every point on there that's a belief of yours, there's all these other ideas that can be made around that. There's all these other ideas you could have other than the one you have. There's all these other ideas that exist, but you haven't found them because you've never challenged your beliefs. All these other ideas are out here in the world sticking out. And you've never found them because you've been told the same thing every Sunday that you go to church. By the same people who take the same money from you over and over again. These are the same people who do these things to your children. I don't know. I'm glad. I am eternally grateful that I had the courage to challenge what I was being told. I am eternally grateful for that courage. It didn't come easy. It came with a whole lot of believing a whole lot of other things. But it got me to this place where even though I don't have to believe any of those things and I no longer have that fear of going to heaven or hell or whatever, I don't have any of that anymore. And it's very freeing. At the same time, it is utterly terrifying to walk amongst you all, knowing that your ideas are so undeveloped and you will give your life for your fucking ideas. Not your ideas, for these beliefs that you've been taught, because they're not even yours. For these beliefs that you've been taught, there are people who die every day for these beliefs that they've been taught. All over the world, people die for these beliefs that they've been taught. Not that any of these beliefs have been demonstrated to them in any actionable way, but they still have these beliefs and they practice these particular rituals and things to maintain these beliefs. Utterly terrifying. As much as I feel free, I am also afraid with you all in the world. That being said, I think I've said enough. I hope that anybody who sees this video, if you are on TikTok and you can find Kwani, the anti-influencer, I think she's a great place to start. Also, Jasmine's Garden. Jasmine is great, and she's funny. You can try her as well, or she's on TikTok, and I think both of them have other accounts, but I don't know all that information. But Jasmine's Garden or Kwani, the anti-influencer. If you want to get with people on social media, at least, who have deconstructed or are in the process of continually deconstructing, I think Jasmine, I think her father is a pastor. I'm not sure about Kwani's, like, I know she was in the church for years and saved ad infinitum, and now she is helping other people deconstruct. So it's worth it to, if your beliefs, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna shut up. If your beliefs are really real, they can stand scrutiny. They can stand research. If it's really real and you believe in it that much, it can stand research. It should not hurt you to find out more about it. Your fear is that you're going to find out that it's bullshit and you wasted all this time believing in some other man's ideals. So, protect your children. Not just from the priests, not just from the teachers, not just from the scoutmasters, not just from the politicians. All of them. All of these people want your children. They want you to give your children over to them in some way. Either to become fuel for their companies, to work in their companies, to buy their products, to add money to their companies in some shape, form, or fashion. That is why they want you to keep having these children. And I'm not an anti-children. I am anti-people having children who are not ready to have children and do not give the children the chance that they deserve. You bring a whole new life here. It deserves the best you can possibly come the fuck up with. It doesn't deserve your mediocrity. It doesn't deserve the little bit of spare time and space that you have left over in your fucking life. It deserves more than that. So yeah, I'm critical. Because I know what can happen when you allow something the space to fucking flourish. I know. So I hope that you will take this as if you are seeing this, this is your sign. This is your sign that it is time to do some research. It is your sign that it's time to begin to understand better where all these things that your grandma told you and your mother told you, all that stuff, or your granddaddy who's a pastor, whomever, all this shit, find out where it comes from. Do that for you. Do that for you. And let me know how your journey goes. You could leave it in the comments or you could email me or whatever. However, if you see me, you know how to get in contact with me. So yeah, let me know how that goes. And with that, I'll see you next time right here. Don't forget also to check out my other series that I have going on. I'm still working on finding some more people, and I'm looking for people. So if you're watching this and you fit the criteria, if you are an addict in recovery, you don't necessarily have to be in a 12-step program, but that would be helpful. I'm looking for people because particularly in the city of Norfolk, the greater Essex County area, for Brick City recovery stories, stories of people who are in recovery, where they came from and how they're doing now is what we're doing. So I am excited about that. It has been going wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you there as well. All right, so I'm out of here. It's the Brick City Monk